Let me tell you a story of a girl named Ayana, whose life was forever transformed by one impossible leap into the unknown. This is not a fairy tale, nor is it a tale of reckless abandon. It is a story of quiet courage, deep yearning for freedom, and the moment when one's soul decided to cast off the chains of a life that had become too small for her dreams. From the very beginning, Ayana felt that she was destined for more than the narrow confines of the world around her. Growing up in a place where every street corner held memories of old traditions and every whispered expectation felt like an invisible shackle, she always sensed that something in her heart was stirring for a grander purpose. In her childhood, while other children played freely under the wide blue sky, Ayana often sat in silence, watching the clouds drift by and imagining a world where she could soar above the limitations of her daily existence. The dreams that came to her in those quiet moments were vivid and unburdened, a place where freedom was not a luxury but a birthright, where every heartbeat pulsed with the promise of adventure. But life, as it often does, had a way of imposing restrictions. Ayana's home was filled with well-meaning but confining expectations. Her family, steeped in traditions passed down through generations, held tightly to the idea that stability and conformity were the keys to a good life. They provided her with love, yes, but also with rules and routines that left little room for the wild, restless spirit that pulsed within her. Every day felt like a repetition of the one before, an endless cycle of obligations and quiet sacrifices. Even as she excelled in school and charmed those around her with her gentle smile, there was an undercurrent of longing, a whisper that promised something more, something exhilarating. As Ayana grew older, the weight of these expectations pressed harder upon her. It was as if every gentle word of caution from a parent, every subtle nudge from a teacher, was meant to keep her from exploring the vast, uncharted territories of her own dreams. She began to feel imprisoned by a life meticulously planned out for her, a life that, though comfortable, felt like a gilded cage. Her soul craved a taste of the wild, the unrestrained, and the unknown. In the quiet moments before dawn, when the world was still wrapped in darkness, she would stand by her window and gaze out at the stars, imagining them as beacons of hope, guiding her toward a destiny that was entirely her own. The yearning for escape grew with each passing day, transforming from a quiet desire into an insistent call. Ayana started to see the world around her not as a safe haven, but as a confining stage where every step was predetermined. It wasn't that she rejected the love of her family or the traditions of her community. It was that she refused to let her spirit be diminished by the narrow limits imposed upon her. In her heart, she knew that true freedom was not something that could be handed down or negotiated. It was something that had to be seized, something that demanded a bold act of defiance. And so, after many months of quiet planning and sleepless nights filled with feverish dreams, Ayana made a decision that would forever alter the course of her life. She would jump from a plane, not as a cry for help, not as an act of desperation, but as a declaration, a physical manifestation of her determination to break free from the invisible chains that bound her. The idea was both terrifying and exhilarating. To leap from an aircraft high above the earth was to challenge the very laws of gravity, to embrace risk as a pathway to rebirth. It was to step into the void, trusting that the winds of fate would carry her safely to a new beginning. The day of the jump arrived with a sky heavy and brooding, a canvas of swirling grays and blues that mirrored the tumult inside Ayana's heart. At the airfield, the atmosphere was charged with anticipation and the low, steady hum of engines that seemed to echo the beat of her racing heart. Clad in a sleek, form-fitting jumpsuit and with a meticulously packed parachute strapped to her back, a symbol of both safety and the daring leap of faith, Ayana approached the small, weathered plane that would be her vessel to freedom. Every detail of that morning was etched in her memory. The crispness of the air, the scent of rain mingled with engine oil, the murmur of voices both encouraging and anxious. In that moment, as she stepped onto the plane and found her seat by the window, She felt a potent mix of fear and excitement, a cocktail of emotions that both trembled and soared within her. As the aircraft ascended into the sky, leaving behind the familiar landscapes of her past, Ayana's thoughts raced. She remembered the countless nights spent staring out of her window, dreaming of a life where she could be unbound, unafraid, and unapologetically herself. The higher the plane climbed, the more the weight of her past seemed to fall away. Every cloud passed, every inch of altitude gained, felt like a step toward shedding the old skin that had kept her confined. With her eyes fixed on the receding ground, she found solace in the vast, limitless sky, a symbol of infinite possibilities and uncharted adventures. When the pilot announced that they had reached the designated jump altitude, a palpable silence fell over the cabin. Time appeared to slow, and in that suspended moment, Ayana's heart pounded in her ears. She methodically checked her gear, her fingers steady as she adjusted the straps of her parachute, a lifeline that was as much a promise as it was a means of survival. Then, with a deep, resolute breath that carried all her hopes and fears, she moved toward the open door of the plane. The moment she stepped out, the roar of the wind engulfed her, and for a fleeting second, there was nothing but the wild, untamed air rushing past her face. It was as if the very act of freefall had stripped away the layers of doubt, leaving her raw and exposed to the elements of life. The initial shock was overwhelming, a visceral reminder that she was truly leaving behind everything she had ever known. But as the seconds stretched into what felt like both an eternity and a single, transcendent moment, a profound transformation began. The terror melted away, replaced by an exhilarating clarity. In that heart-stopping freefall, Ayana experienced a liberation so complete that every nerve in her body sang with the unbridled joy of pure, unfiltered existence. The world around her became a swirling mosaic of colors and sounds. The wind's howls turned into a symphony of possibility, and the vast expanse of the sky opened up like a welcoming embrace. Every second in freefall was a rebirth, a chance to leave behind the ghosts of her past and to redefine what it meant to be alive. In the midst of that wild descent, she felt an undeniable connection to the universe, as if the very elements conspired to lift her spirit higher than ever before. There was beauty in the chaos of that moment, a beauty that transcended the mundane and spoke directly to the core of her being. As the parachute deployed, the violent rush of air transformed into a gentle glide. Suspended in the serene balance between earth and sky, Ayana allowed herself a moment of quiet introspection. The canopy above her was like a vast, protective shield, turning the frenetic energy of freefall into a calm, measured descent. In that suspended state, every detail became a revelation. The distant hum of life on the ground, the soft rustle of leaves in the wind, and the intricate play of light and shadow on the landscape below. It was here, in the tender embrace of the open air, that she truly understood the magnitude of her choice. This was not an act of defiance born out of desperation. It was a deliberate, passionate embrace of her own destiny. When her feet finally touched the ground in a secluded clearing surrounded by ancient, whispering trees, Ayana felt as if she had stepped into a new world. The earth underfoot was soft and reassuring, a reminder that no matter how far she had flown, she had not escaped the natural cycle of life. Yet, everything was undeniably different now. In that quiet moment, as the adrenaline of her leap began to ebb away, she allowed herself to smile. A small, genuine smile that spoke of triumph and renewal. The jump had been more than a physical journey. It had been a journey into the deepest recesses of her soul, a journey that revealed the true nature of her strength and resolve. In the days that followed, the world began to take on a new hue for Ayana. The experience of freefall and the subsequent glide through the skies had instilled in her an unshakable belief that she was the architect of her own fate. The challenges that once seemed insurmountable now appeared as mere stepping stones on the path to a richer, more authentic life. With every new sunrise, she embraced her freedom with a sense of wonder and determination. The story of her daring leap spread quietly at first, whispered among those who had known her, and gradually reaching the ears of others who sought inspiration in the face of adversity. People saw in her a beacon of hope, a symbol of the extraordinary potential that lies dormant within every heart yearning to break free. Yet, even as the days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, Ayana found that the journey toward true freedom was ongoing. The leap had been a monumental act, but it was only the beginning. There were challenges ahead, challenges not of gravity, but of healing, of rediscovering oneself after a lifetime of confinement. In the quiet solitude of her newfound life, she began to explore the inner landscapes of her soul, seeking answers to questions that had long remained unspoken. She forged new friendships, discovered passions that had lain dormant, and gradually built a life that was a vibrant tapestry of hope, resilience, and creativity. There were moments of doubt, of course, when the memories of her past would rise unbidden, threatening to smother the light of her newfound existence. But each time those shadows crept in, she would remember the rush of the freefall, the exhilarating moment when she realized that life was not meant to be lived in the confines of fear and expectation. Instead, it was meant to be experienced with every fiber of one's being in all its wild, unpredictable glory. And so, she pressed forward, embracing both the beauty and the pain of her journey, knowing that each step was a testament to her unyielding spirit. In time, Ayana's story became a powerful metaphor for those who felt trapped by circumstances beyond their control. Her leap was not simply an act of physical courage, but a clarion call to anyone who dared to dream of a life unburdened by the past. It was a reminder that sometimes the only way to break free from the chains that bind us is to take that leap of faith, even when the outcome is uncertain and the risks are great. Every flutter of her heart, every burst of wind against her face, echoed the promise of a future where she could choose her own path. As the seasons changed, Ayana's inner journey deepened. The introspection that followed her leap led her to explore the realms of art, philosophy, and the intricate connections that tie human hearts together. She began to write, pouring her experiences into words that captured the raw emotions of transformation and renewal. Her writing resonated with those who had felt the weight of the world on their shoulders, and gradually, her voice became a source of solace and inspiration for many. In community gatherings, in quiet cafes, and even in the soft glow of candlelit rooms, her words sparked conversations about the nature of freedom and the courage it takes to embrace one's true self. The landscape around her, once a constant reminder of a life she had outgrown, now served as a canvas for new beginnings. The rolling hills, the winding roads, and the expansive skies all seemed to whisper secrets of promise and possibility. Ayana found beauty in the simplest things: a dew-laden spiderweb in the early morning light, the gentle murmur of a stream as it danced over smooth stones, and the fleeting smile of a stranger who recognized the spark of determination in her eyes. Every moment became a celebration of life, a silent homage to the power of taking risks and daring to be different. Her journey was not without setbacks. There were days when the memories of confinement would come rushing back, when the voices of doubt seemed louder than the call of freedom. During those times, Ayana would revisit the very moment of her jump in her mind. The heart-pounding rush, the brilliant expanse of the sky, and the overwhelming realization that she had taken control of her destiny. Those memories served as a beacon, guiding her through the storms of uncertainty. They reminded her that even in the face of overwhelming odds, there was a strength within her that no force could ever diminish. And so, with each passing day, Ayana continued to build a life that was as vibrant as it was unpredictable. She immersed herself in the arts, exploring music, painting, and poetry as ways to express the kaleidoscope of emotions that swirled within her. Her creative endeavors attracted a community of like-minded souls, Individuals who, like her, believed that true freedom was found not in conformity, but in the bold embrace of one's unique essence. Together, they formed bonds of friendship and camaraderie, sharing stories of struggle and triumph, and finding strength in the knowledge that every leap of faith was a step towards self-discovery. In quiet moments of reflection, Ayana would often recall the precise moment she stepped out of that airplane. The sensation of falling, the rush of wind, and the overwhelming clarity that followed were etched into her memory as a vivid reminder of the transformative power of a single act. She came to see that life was not measured by the number of breaths we take, but by the moments that take our breath away, the daring, the unexpected, and the defiant stand we make against a world that tries to confine us. It was in those moments of surrender to the unknown that she discovered the true essence of living. As the years unfolded, the legend of Ayana, the girl who jumped from a plane to reclaim her life, grew far and wide. People from all walks of life found solace and inspiration in her story. They saw in her the embodiment of the belief that every individual holds the power to rewrite their destiny. Her narrative became a beacon for those who felt lost in the maze of societal expectations, a living testament to the idea that the courage to take risks is what propels us into a future filled with endless potential. Yet, even as her story spread and touched countless lives, Ayana remained humble. She never saw herself as a hero, only as a girl who had dared to dream of a life unbound. In quiet conversations, when asked about the leap and the experiences that followed, she would smile gently and say that the journey was far from over. Every day was a new beginning, every sunrise a promise of undiscovered adventures, and every step forward a silent victory over the forces that once tried to hold her back. The impact of her leap extended beyond her own life. It sparked conversations about freedom, identity, and the transformative power of choice. In schools, community centers, and even in boardrooms, her story was referenced as a symbol of resilience and the importance of following one's heart. It was said that Ayana had shown the world that sometimes, to truly live, one must be willing to embrace the risk of falling, knowing that in that fall lay the possibility of soaring to heights unimaginable. In the midst of it all, Ayana continued to evolve. She dedicated herself to helping others find the courage to break free from their own constraints, mentoring young dreamers and organizing workshops that celebrated the beauty of individuality and self-expression. Her journey, which had begun with a single audacious leap, had blossomed into a lifelong mission to empower others to seek out their own truths and to live authentically, regardless of the obstacles in their way. Now, as you listen to this tale, a tale woven with the threads of hope, defiance, and the quiet power of transformation, remember that within each of us lies a spark waiting to ignite. Ayana's story is not just a story of one girl's daring escape from the ordinary. It is a reminder that every moment offers a chance to reinvent ourselves, to break free from the expectations that bind us, and to rise fearless into a future we create with our own two hands. In the end, the sky is vast and uncharted, and every leap, no matter how terrifying, carries with it the promise of new beginnings. So let this story be a call to action for anyone who has ever felt confined by the limits of their world. Embrace the winds of change, trust in the strength of your own heart, and dare to take that leap into the unknown. For it is in that courageous act, that bold moment of free fall, that we truly learn what it means to be alive. This is the story of Ayana, a girl who jumped from a plane not in a moment of despair, but in a triumph of spirit, a resounding declaration of her right to live, love, and dream beyond the confines of a predetermined life. May her journey inspire you to look within, to find your own strength, and to soar unburdened and unafraid into the boundless expanse of your future.